Why so few people live in the Baltic states? Europe is a crowded continent. Over 700 million people are packed into a space smaller than Africa. Cities like Paris, Berlin, and London buzz with millions, while even mid-sized European nations like the Netherlands host dense, thriving populations. But tucked away in Europe's far northeastern corner lies a trio of countries with a very different story: Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, better known collectively as the Baltics. Together, these three sovereign states barely surpass 6 million people, about the same as Denmark, and just a fraction of Germany's population. To put it bluntly, the Baltics are large enough to host tens of millions more people. Yet they don't. So why are they so underpopulated compared to the rest of Europe? The answer, as always, begins with geography, but it quickly expands into a saga of history, empire, tragedy, and resilience. The geography of the Baltics: flatlands and fragile shores. When you picture Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, you're imagining a very particular corner of northern Europe, defined by the sea that gives the region its name, the Baltic Sea. Unlike the Alps or Pyrenees, this is no land of soaring peaks. The Baltics are part of the East European Plain, a vast sweep of flatlands stretching from Poland across Belarus, Ukraine, and deep into Russia. The land was carved not by tectonic drama but by the slow retreat of ice sheets thousands of years ago. What they left behind was a landscape of flat plains, glacial lakes, winding rivers, and immense forests. This setting has a subtle beauty. Estonia's rolling meadows, Latvia's river valleys, and Lithuania's glassy lakes reflect a northern light that feels almost timeless. Yet this same geography has also left the Baltics exposed. Without high mountains as a shield, the region has historically been easy to invade, and its peoples have often paid the price. Climate-wise, the Baltic Sea plays an outsized role. It moderates temperatures, making winters a touch milder than inland Russia, yet still long, dark, and snow-filled. Summers are short but surprisingly warm, and the rhythm of the year is one of dramatic seasonal contrast, a factor that has shaped both the agricultural traditions and the cultural psyche of these nations. Estonia, land of islands and digital dreams. The northernmost of the three, Estonia, is defined by its relationship with water. Its coastline is deeply indented and speckled with islands, over 900 of them, collectively known as the West Estonian Archipelago. The largest, Saaremaa and Hiiumaa, have cultures of their own, with windmills, medieval churches, and ancient pagan traditions that survive in folk festivals even today. Estonia also borders Lake Peipus, one of Europe's largest, which forms a natural frontier with Russia. And although Estonia's highest mountain, Suurmunamajai, is a modest 318 meters, the country makes up for this lack of elevation with something else entirely: innovation. Since regaining independence in 1991, Estonia has built itself into one of the most digitally advanced societies on Earth. From e-residency to online voting, it has embraced technology to overcome the limitations of size and geography. And perhaps that's fitting. This is a country whose geography has always pushed it to look outward across the sea. Latvia: rivers, valleys, and a capital on the Daugava. Heading south, Latvia is a country defined by watercourses. While Estonia is about islands, Latvia is about rivers. The most important is the Daugava River, which flows from Russia through Belarus across Latvia and into the Gulf of Riga at the capital city. Riga itself is a gem, a city of Art Nouveau facades, cobblestone lanes, and a history that stretches back to the Hanseatic League, when it was a vital trading hub of northern Europe. Latvia is also home to Gauja National Park, often called the Switzerland of Latvia. It's a slightly dramatic nickname given Latvia's low elevations, but the park does boast scenic sandstone cliffs, caves, and thick forest. Here, traces of ancient castles still overlook the valleys, reminders of the medieval wars that once raged across this frontier land. Lithuania: forests, lakes, and the spit of sand. The southernmost Baltic state, Lithuania, is in many ways the most wooded. Forests cover nearly a third of its land, and lakes, over 6,000 of them, dot the countryside, especially in the east. Its coastline is short, but what a coastline it is. Lithuania shares with Russia's Kaliningrad Oblast the Curonian Spit, a fragile, surreal ribbon of sand dunes stretching 98 kilometers along the sea. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and walking its windswept ridges feels like entering another world. Lithuania also has the most dramatic medieval legacy of the three. Unlike Estonia and Latvia, who were conquered by crusading orders, Lithuania resisted and rose. It forged the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, at one time the largest state in Europe, stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea. Later, through union with Poland, It became part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a powerhouse of early modern Europe. A shared history of conquest and resistance. While their geographies differ, history has bound the Baltics tightly together, often through suffering. For centuries they were pawns in the struggles of larger empires. The Teutonic Knights, Sweden, Poland, Germany, and above all Russia. By the late 18th century the Russian Empire had absorbed all three. Under Tsarist rule, policies of Russification tried to stamp out native languages and traditions. Yet in response, the Baltics experienced a powerful national awakening in the 19th century, as poets, folklorists, and intellectuals rekindled a sense of identity. The chance for independence came in 1918, after World War I shattered the old empires. For 2 brief decades the Baltics were free. Then came catastrophe. War, occupation, and the demographic collapse. In 1939, the infamous Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact secretly consigned the Baltics to Soviet control. What followed was one of the darkest chapters in their history. 1940, Soviet occupation begins. Deportations of elites, teachers, farmers, politicians, tear the fabric of society. 1941-44, Nazi Germany invades, unleashing the Holocaust. Once thriving Jewish communities in Vilnius, Riga, and Tallinn are annihilated. 1944 onward, the Soviets return and Stalin's regime imposes mass deportations again, sending tens of thousands to Siberia. Entire families were loaded into cattle cars, with many perishing en route. Estimates suggest over 120,000 people were deported from the Baltics in the 1940s alone. The Soviet regime also targeted young men who joined the partisan resistance known as the Forest Brothers, further draining the population. While much of Western Europe experienced a baby boom after 1945, the Baltics instead endured demographic collapse. The Singing Revolution and independence. And yet, out of this trauma came resilience. In the late 1980s, as Soviet power faltered, the Baltics became the heart of a peaceful uprising known as the Singing Revolution. Its most iconic moment came in 1989 with the Baltic Way, a human chain of 2 million people stretching over 600 kilometers across all 3 countries, hand in hand, demanding freedom. By 1990-91, independence was restored. And in 2004, all 3 joined both the European Union and NATO, cementing their return to the Western world. So why so few people? Given this remarkable story, the question remains, why do the Baltics still have such small populations? The answer lies in a mix of historic tragedy and modern economics. World War II casualties, the Holocaust, battles and deportations killed or displaced hundreds of thousands. Soviet deportations, the systematic removal of elites created a demographic void. Economic migration. After EU accession in 2004, young Balts seized the chance to work in richer countries like the UK, Germany, and Ireland. Low birth rates. Like much of Europe, fertility rates dropped below replacement level, compounding the loss. The numbers are stark. Estonia, from 1.6 million in 1989 to about 1.4 million today. Latvia, from 2.7 million to under 1.9 million. Lithuania, from 3.7 million to 2.9 million. In just 3 decades, the region has lost nearly 2 million people, a staggering number for nations that were never large to begin with. A fragile but hopeful future. And yet, the story isn't all decline. Estonia's population has been inching upward since 2011, thanks in part to immigration from Ukraine and Russia. Lithuania has also seen growth since 2020. Only Latvia remains in decline, but the trend may yet shift. Meanwhile, the Baltics are experiencing a renaissance in other ways. Tourism is booming as visitors discover medieval old towns, unspoiled forests, and quiet beaches. Economies are growing, with Estonia leading the way as a global tech hub. Cultural pride is flourishing as each country celebrates its folk traditions, languages, and unique identities. In a way, the Baltic small populations may even be part of their charm. Unlike Europe's megacities, Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius feel approachable, walkable, and deeply human in scale. Conclusion: small nations, big stories. So why do so few people live in the Baltics? Because history scarred them, empire emptied them, and modern economics lured many away. But the essence of these nations has survived. The forests of Lithuania still whisper old songs. Latvia's rivers still flow to the sea. Estonia's islands still keep their quiet watch. And the people who remain are determined that their nations will not just endure, but thrive. In the end, the Baltics are proof that population size isn't everything. For while they may be small, their story is immense.